Welcome, and thank you for joining us for this information session, both Peter A. Allard School of Law's new program on mining law and sustainability. It launches in just over 2 weeks on September 27th. So we're very excited to have a full hour of content prepared for you. And of course, we've carved out a significant amount of time for your questions, and we'll be sharing how you can submit those questions to us in just a minute. But first, we'd like to introduce myself. I'm Tanya Astorino, and I'm the Director of Professional Programs at the Allard School of Law. You can reach me at that email address there if you have questions about the course or any other matters, executivelearning@allard.ubc.ca. And I'm pleased to be your guide today. We do have two wonderful hosts. We're very lucky to have them, and I'll introduce them in a moment. First, I'd like to acknowledge that UBC, I'm on campus today, and UBC is located on the traditional, ancestral, and unceded territory of the Musqueam people. I would encourage each of you to reflect on the lands on which you're situated. As I mentioned, in order to submit your questions, and we do encourage you to do so, you can start right away. We won't get to them until the very end of the presentation, but you can either open a new browser or on your mobile device, type in slido.com and enter our event code MLS02, so MLS02, and that will direct you into our question and answer. Here's a brief agenda. Excuse the layout of this. We've had a bit of a computer issue this morning, but just in a nutshell, today we'll be going over some tips and introductions, passing it over to our instructor and course author, curriculum overview, and then she'll also touch on who should take this program, just to highlight a few of the main points. And then we're lucky to have conversation with Dr. Carol Liao, and that will take up about 15 minutes. And then we've got 30 minutes set aside, so quite a significant amount for your questions. A few tips. I know we're all probably Zoom experts at this point, but just for some reminders, for Q&A again and polls, we will have some polls to include some interactive feedback from you throughout the session. That will be on Slido. Again, it's slido.com. We've muted your audio just for a better user experience for all of us. It's your choice. You can choose to turn your video on or off. The session will be recorded. So just wanted to flag that for you. And you'll receive a copy of the recording link tomorrow, as will colleagues that may not have been able to join. In terms of your layout, that's your preference. You can adjust the layout to see a speaker view by clicking view options at the top right of your screen, and then you can choose how to lay out your screen. So first, we'd like to get going right away with, you can join us at slido.com with one of our polls. And the question we're interested in learning from you today is, what industry are you employed in? So the quickest way to get in there, if you've got your mobile phone, is just to scan the QR code right at the top left. We'll wait a couple of seconds for everyone to get in there. And this kind of information really helps us to frame our discussion today, and will also be helpful in sending you some information that may be of interest to you. Mineral exploration, great. Thank you. An ENGO. We'll give it, say, another 30 seconds. Sustainability, yes. Junior mining as well. Okay, great. I think, thank you for that. Let's move on to the second poll. And if you can tell us your title and your area of expertise. This again helps us to craft a little bit of our presentation today, and just to ensure that you're getting the content that is most applicable to you and most relevant to you. It's the same process. If you're in Slido already, you would have seen the poll up, but if you wanted to join us, if you didn't get a chance to already, you can scan the QR code up at the top left or slido.com. Great, thank you. Metallurgist. We'll give this one a little bit of time still. Governance, lawyers, CFO, conservation coordinator, wildlife connectivity, great. Fantastic. Thank you for participating. We will have one last poll that will appear later in the slideshow. And now it's my distinct pleasure to introduce our two hosts. As I mentioned, we're so lucky to have Dr. Daniela Chimisso dos Santos as our course author and our course instructor. So if you're taking the course, you'll get to know her in the different presentations and the different content, etc. And Dr. Carol Liao is also here. We're lucky to have her along for the discussion portion of this presentation, and she's also an expert contributor to the course. So if you take the course, you'll get to see some of her contributions, and that will be fantastic. But I'm going to introduce them and read out some of their biographies now so that you get to know them a little bit better. Daniela Chimisso dos Santos is an expert on mining and sustainability. She's practiced law in the oil, gas, and mining industries for over 20 years and has extensive national and international experience in sub-Saharan Africa, South America, and Asia. She's the principal consultant at Invenient Consulting Solutions and was recently a senior governance advisor at the sustainability consulting firm Proactiva. She has also held roles at McCarthy Tetro, Shell, Hatch Limited, and Vale, where she led a team of more than 45 lawyers in 11 jurisdictions. In addition to serving as a board member of Transparency International Canada, Daniela is a member of the ICC Canada Task Force on addressing issues of corruption in international arbitration. She's also a member of the Environmental Appeal Board, Forest Appeals Commission, and the Oil and Gas Appeal Tribunal in British Columbia. The United Nations Development Program has recognized her as an extractives expert. Daniela has published in the areas of mining and sustainability, business and human rights, mining finance, and sovereign debt and human rights. She's lectured and spoken at universities, events, and associations across North America, and has presented her work at Harvard Law School, University of Cambridge Law School, and the Center for International Governance, Innovation, and Society for Institutional and Organizational Economics. And Dr. Carol Liao is an associate professor and the director of the Center for Business Law here at the UBC Peter A. Allard School of Law. And she's also the UBC Sauder Distinguished Scholar at the Dillon Center for Business Ethics at the UBC Sauder School of Business. Prior to academia, Dr. Liao was a senior corporate lawyer in the New York Mergers and Acquisitions Group of Shearman Sterling LLP, where she represented public and private multinational corporations in a variety of transactional and governance matters. On behalf of the firm, she also served as a legal researcher for the Office of the Prosecutor on location at the United Nations International Criminal Tribunal of Rwanda. She's the recipient of the 2021 Influential Women in Business Award from Business in Vancouver. So just before I turn it over to Daniela and Carol, some program highlights so we can have a bit of an overview of what the program looks like. I know some of the questions that have come into our partners at Extended Learning have been about what does the course look like, what does the program look like? It is quite flexible. It's 100% online, and so you can tailor it to join, do the readings and watch the materials at your convenience. So you can structure that into your busy, obviously, schedules, the professional and personal lives. It's concise, so we've created one module per week over 5 weeks. Of course, we've already talked about our great instructor, and there's a unique focus on this course on the mine's life cycle. It considers a variety of aspects, including Indigenous rights, climate change, and some anti-corruption efforts. So you'll get a bit of an interdisciplinary look at it. The content includes video lessons, case studies, recorded expert guest interviews, and Daniela will touch a little bit about that as we go through this intro session today. There's some peer-to-peer learning. For example, one of the modules is structured so that there are some discussion components, and you'll get some peer-to-peer learning through that online discussion. It's accessible, it's open to everyone around the world. A legal background is not required. In terms of the format and expectations, it's, as mentioned, 100% online and it's instructor supported. We've got the kickoff on September 27th, and because it's 5 weeks, it'll end on October 29th. You will have 2 additional weeks after that in order to complete the final assignment. So you can expect to spend about 30 hours over the 5-week span. So roughly 5 hours per week, plus some additional time for the assignments. It's on UBC's Learn Excel platform, which is a very user-friendly platform. You'll be able to see all within the course shell, the video lessons, the readings, and as I mentioned, all the recorded interviews with experts, etc. Everything will be housed in that platform. In terms of assessment and grading, there are some quizzes throughout, some discussion assignments, and then a research paper or 2 case studies. So it's quite flexible, and you can tailor that, the choice of assignments to your choosing. My pleasure to turn it over to our course author and instructor. We'll just have to activate your microphone, Daniela.
We're in 2021 and it's still the active words are you're on mute. Anyway, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Tanya. And it's an absolute pleasure to be here talking about this course. This has been, it has been a fantastic journey for us to get here. So I'm delighted to be sharing this information with you. As Tanya mentioned, I authored this course and I actually co-authored it. The other person that co-authored it with me is Chastity Davis. She is an Indigenous person as well as an Indigenous leader. She has a consulting firm specialized on the Indigenous relationship with mining, with the mining industry. And so it was a real honor to work with Chastity as well. So as Tanya mentioned, the curriculum is set out in 5 modules. The first 2 modules are quite foundational. The first one introduces sort of the business and law spectrum of matters. And then the second one introduces Indigenous peoples, law, governance, and consent. Then the last 3 modules reflect the life of mine, which is exploration, of course, developing and operating a mine, closing a mine, and conclusion. The reason, and I think it's important for us to mention this, the reason why we've focused and we've created these modules in this way, because we wanted to make sure that it's clear that when we're talking about sustainability issues and especially the interweaving of sustainability issues in business decisions, these issues appear in a different way at different moments in time as we look at the life of mine and as the project progresses. So perhaps if we can go to the next slide. So we all know, I've seen that most of us here are mining professionals, so we know how a mine works, how a project is set up. But again, one of the key aspects of this course is that it clearly identifies issues that arise, for example, in exploration, at the development of the mine, at the operations of the mine, and then when the mine is actually being closed. These are different issues. The regulatory frameworks do not apply all in the same way as one may imagine. And so this is really a unique view of how we look at sustainability issues and the interweaving of these issues with business decisions. So just to give you an example, many of you might be familiar with human rights due diligence and how it works at the exploration phase right before the final investment decision. But it is quite different on how it works during operations and then with regards to how it applies to closures of mines. And this is the way that the course actually looks at all of these issues. And then if we can move on to the next slide, please. So I wanted to also set out sort of the main structure of each one of these modules. Now, so it's 5 modules, 1 module per week. And in each one of these modules, they're divided into 3 separate lessons. The first one is on business and the law, and it's law sort of in a more general sense and more business associated law. The second one relates to Indigenous participation and how Indigenous participation fits in within these moments in time. And the third one relates to sustainability issues. And we focused on 3 issues, which I've considered to be the main issues that are affecting the mining industry and will affect the mining industry in the next years, which is corporate social responsibility and the move towards business and human rights, an area known as business and human rights, and the differences that that area brings with regards to the expectations of how business works. Secondly, the anti-corruption efforts not only in the global south, but also in the global north. And then of course, climate change and how climate change regulation and all the sort of climate change discussion is affecting mining and is affecting the governance of mining. Finally, the most, if I could say, the overarching purpose of the way that the course has been structured is to ensure that there's a clear understanding of the interconnectedness of these issues. That I think is perhaps the most important aspect of this course. Long gone are the days that only sustainability professionals or CSR professionals are responsible for sustainability. Today, in today's world, in a post-COVID world, sustainability issues arise throughout probably every single relevant decision that business ought to make. And it is there that we need to ensure that we hear the different voices and understand the different sustainability issues that arise. If we can move on to the next section, please. Sorry, we can go to the next slide, please.
Sorry, Olga, would you be able to advance it? Seems my mouse is stuck.
1 second. Could you please stop sharing the screen for a second? Oh,
Got it. There we go.
Okay. So one of the things that really gets me very excited about this course, and I think that we've been extraordinarily lucky that so many experts have been willing to share their knowledge with us, is that we've been able to combine 18 different voices of experts in the field in order to bring their perspective on these issues. So when we're talking about mining business, we actually sat down and had the opportunities to speak with Tony Hodge. Tony is the ex-president of the International Council of Mines and Metals, and his view on the movement of sustainability and where we are today, I think is really critical. We've also spoken with Chief Alphonse from the Tsilhqot'in Nation. He is the tribal chairman, and he has recently received the Shining Star from the government of British Columbia. When we talk about the Tsilhqot'in decision, he was actually there, and he talks about his views of why that decision was successful and what made it different and what he sees are the next trends moving forward. We've also had the opportunity to speak with Mr. James Yap. James was the co-counsel for the plaintiffs in the Nevson case, and I think anybody in law in the past 2-3 years in Canada, well, 4 or 5 years in Canada, has heard about the Nevson case. So we actually were able to sit down with James, and he's also the president of the Canadian Lawyers for International Human Rights, and he also talks about the Nevson case and the trends that he sees in this area. We were able to speak with Assistant Professor Nadia Kuntz, who's also the Canada Chair in Mine and Water and Waste Management for UBC, and she spoke to us about what she sees are the issues with regards to water management, and we consider to be that one of the critical aspects in mining going forward. If we can move to the next slide, please. We've also have the opportunity to speak with Mr. Dean McPherson, who's the head of global mining for the Toronto Stock Exchange, the TMX group. And then we have Professor Stephen Wood, who is the Canada Chair for Law, Society and Sustainability, and the director of the Center for Law and Environment. And he is the one that actually defines sustainability for us. When we speak about Indigenous traditional governance, we speak to Chief Catherine Blackstock, the hereditary Chief Gal of the Gitskan Nation. And finally, when we talk about anti-corruption efforts and artificial intelligence, we speak to Mr. Norman Baldwin, who is the partner of GRC Vista, who has more than 40 years of experience within the anti-corruption realm. I wanted to share these names with you because I wanted to ensure that there's an understanding that this course is also very much a view of boots on the ground of what's happening, what are the trends of, well, actually, if I can rephrase that, of what has happened, where we are today, and what are the trends moving forward. If we can move on to the next slide, please. Now, as I mentioned, the module 1 and module 2 are foundational modules, and module 1 really explores the primary international legal frameworks that govern natural resource extraction in the context of sustainability, indigenous communities, human rights, anti-corruption, and climate change. Now, it's important to note that in this course, we are not going to take the Ontario Mining Act or the BC Mining Act and go through it clause by clause. That is not the purpose of this course. The purpose of this course is to give you a holistic view of where we are and with regards to international law, what's happening in the international legal arena, how that is reflecting in the national legal arena, and then how that affects the mining industry and specifically mining projects. So even though we do use examples of specific sections and clauses of laws and legislation, the purpose is not merely to take the act and go through it and see how it applies. It is meant to give you an overview of how international law impacts national law and how national law then impacts the industry as well as projects. With regards to module 2, here we're looking at Indigenous peoples, law, governance, and consent, and it really looks at how the mining industry is seen through the lens of colonization, how the truth and reconciliation moment that Canada is living through right now affects the industry, and then finally how all of that impacts gender and why that is relevant. So that's sort of an overview of these foundational modules. And within the life of mine, as I mentioned, we will be looking at exploration, development, and operation, closing, and ESG. But what I wanted to mention is that within each one of these modules, we're going to look at, sort of the business and law in more general terms, and we're going to look at what Indigenous participation looks like in each one of these moments in time, and then we're going to look at what does the corporate social responsibility movement, specifically within the business and human rights arena, looks like, coupled with anti-corruption efforts as well as climate change. So, and this is how the structure is for each one of these modules. Now, the way that the evaluation ultimately reflects the efforts that is expected from each of the students. This is it's a pass-fail course, so the expectation is that you will not be graded. There are 15 quizzes or 15 small activities to ensure that you're engaged with the program, and they sort of automatically walks you through as you go through the program. We've created 4 case studies for you, and in which you will have the option to either do a national case or an international case study. And the way that it works is that you choose at the beginning of the course if you want to do either go through the case studies or do a research paper. If you go through the case studies, then you will be required to undertake 2 case studies, which we expect will require this amount of effort from you. So about 30% of your effort dedicated to week 2 with regards to case study number 1, and week 5 with regards to case study number 2. And as I mentioned, we've actually created 4 case studies in which you have the choice between a national case study and an international case study in both cases. And then finally, we have a research paper that you can choose a topic. This is something that we can, as Tanya mentioned, I will be the instructor, so I can assist with any questions or any doubt that you may have with regards to the research paper, any topics that you have an interest in. So that this is quite a flexible course. You can please change slides. Thank you. So this, I think, is the most exciting part of all, because we have Dr. Carol Liao with us, and I am so excited to have Carol with us. Carol and I have known each other for quite a few years now. But and to be honest, I think this course is actually a Carol's brainchild, and so I am delighted to have Carol here. And Carol, thank you so much for being with us and for sharing your knowledge and all your views with regards to this course. We really appreciate it.
It's an honor to be here. And actually, I have to say, while you were presenting, I was here nodding to myself because I'm really thrilled and excited about this course. So let's talk.
Excellent. Well, Carol, I think that, I think that it would be great if we could just start off by, this is I think the sort of the first executive learning course that Allard has decided to put together. And I think it'd be great if we could explore a little bit. Why do you think Allard decided to focus on mining and sustainability?
Really good question. We are living in a climate emergency. We all know that by now. And UBC is mobilizing resources to stimulate research and education in response to this existential threat. So a real critical step forward is going to involve a rapid transition from fossil fuels towards net zero carbon energy systems, which are powered by wind, solar, other renewables. And what we need to understand in terms of the context of it all is as these energy sources reduce greenhouse gas emissions, they will simultaneously create a massive increase in the demand for mining. Okay, it's estimated that about 3.5 billion tons of metals and minerals are going to be needed by 2050 for the renewable energy systems necessary to keep global warming below 2 degrees there, right? So identifying sufficient mineral deposits to support future demands and developing low impact methods for accessing these resources is really going to be one of the greatest challenges facing humanity, in my opinion. And so there really needs to be knowledge sharing and legal literacy in mining. And I find that there is an information gap that needs to be filled, because the question is not whether we will mine in the future, but how can the global mining sector be a positive contributor to the development of sustainable societies? And so as change makers of tomorrow, the mining industry needs to be equipped to engage in these very complex discussions so that we can chart a viable path forward while understanding the complex legal and regulatory frameworks within the industry and the trajectory of the law going forward under this climate emergency. So I really am hoping that professionals are seeing this immense opportunity here to gain knowledge through this program in this really critical, important area that isn't going to go away anytime soon, right?
No, absolutely. I agree 1,000% with Carol. I think that the responsibility that the mining industry has today in a post-COVID world is enormous, and the question is how do we get it done in a way that is sustainable or does it better? So you mentioned the criticality of mining. Do you think that has increased even more in a post-COVID world?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the role of mining in the transition to green technologies and renewable energy systems it's a highly complex and multifaceted topic, right? And significant new mineral resources are required for the renewable energy technologies needed for climate change mitigation. But the truth is many of the current methods for extracting mineral resources have a significant environmental and social footprint. And look, my specialty is in business, right? Business, corporate law. And so it became a natural reality to shift into this sector because it's so critically important for the future, right? And many of the resources that we need are located in emerging economies, which leads to an unequal global distribution of benefits and impacts on extraction. So moving forward, it's really critical to engage in a deep learning and conversations about the future of mining, bringing together various perspectives and values, as you mentioned, a holistic understanding of seemingly opposing worldviews and knowledge systems, right? Because if we are going to build back better, it's not a competition between the economy versus the environment. It's not versus, but in conjunction with, and this links directly to sustainability, which is what makes this program so unique and very important in terms of access to justice and legal literacy in an industry that's going to be a major player, and whether people will like it or not in climate change mitigation.
Absolutely, absolutely. And one of the things that I think that I think is really relevant today is that sustainability has become a little bit of a buzzword, and it can mean so many things to so many people in different ways and in different contexts. And I think that it would be great if, if you could share with us a little bit, what do you think it means, and how do you think it has changed in the past few years?
Right. Yeah, because we've talked about too how some terms have a shelf life, and that's kind of a problem, right? Because you've just got words tossed around all over the place. It's almost in a way these word gymnastics. But to me, sustainability or sustainable development can be defined as development that meets the needs of the present while safeguarding the Earth's life support systems on which the welfare of current and future generations depend. So to me, there are these dimensions of sustainability, environmental sustainability, in that it ensures the long-term stability and resilience of ecosystems supporting human life, social sustainability, in that it facilitates the respect and promotion of human rights and good governance, and economic sustainability, in that it satisfies the economic needs necessary for stable and resilient societies. And it's about us finding that environmentally safe and socially just space in which humanity can thrive. And what does that mean for corporations? Well, 2021, in this pandemic, our world is going to be defined as the time before and the time after. And many of the root causes of climate change also increase the risk of future pandemics, right? It's all linked. Deforestation, loss of habitat, forcing animals to migrate, which increases infectious zoonotic disease risk, right? So we are living right now in this age of dissonance, where our corporate dependence on this disconnection between economics and ecologies really come to an uncomfortable reckoning. And these concerns are accelerating this need for new and sustaining relationships to bind our global community. And much of the Canadian economy is tied to extraction, right? Refining, transport, sale of oil and gas, coal. And these sectors are vulnerable as global investors move to divest and reinvest in renewables. So, the sustainability related study of corporate law and of mining law and governance is one of the most dynamic and significant areas of law and policy in light of this convergence of crises that we as a global society are facing. And with climate lawsuits and on the rise, and thousands at this point now, and significant human rights cases before our courts. From a practical perspective, boards are putting their companies at risk if they do not consider the environmental and social impacts of their actions. So, you said it already, Daniela, too, but it touches on every decision. So executives need to quickly educate themselves on their sustainability risks as we move into this new era of corporate governance.
And I think, and just to add, and I think you're 100% right. And just to add that I think that one of the most critical aspects that has really drastically changed in the past 10 years is this idea that sustainability, before sustainability was something very much linked to the global South, linked to a development that the global North really wasn't too concerned about, because theoretically we are sustainable. But I think that one of the big changes that we see today, and that the ESG movement, I think, rolled into the sustainability discussion, is very much a clear view that the global North must also review its policies, its laws, its regulations, its entire framework to really survive in what this post-COVID world is looking like, and what this climate emergency is bringing to the forefront of our decision-making processes. It is no longer an issue of the problems are all over there, the footprint is all over there. It's actually it's with us. It's right here. It's right beside us. And I think that is a real important aspect that needs to be recalled in this discussion. And so when we look at the next steps, and we look about, when we think of businesses and consultants and governments and stakeholders and rights holders, what do we need really to thrive in this new world? I think I'm concerned that Carol has.
I think she's just going to log out and log back in.
Yeah, sorry. I'm sorry. did she, I think she froze when I made that comment, and I was just waiting for her to respond, and then I saw that she didn't respond, so maybe that's why I saw that she was frozen.
Maybe I'll
So
take this
let's give her a minute.
opportunity.
Yeah.
Maybe I can remind everyone, if you would like to submit questions, please do so. Once the discussion is concluded, we'll head over to one final poll, and then we'll head over to your questions. So you can start submitting them again at slido.com, MLS02. Thank you.
Hi, Carol. Sorry, you're on mute.
Maybe we got too excited and that's
Yes,
why.
exactly. Exactly. No, I wasn't sure where we were at, but I just, sorry, go on.
No, I'm trying to think where I was talking about what businesses need to know to thrive in this new world that we're coming
Perfect.
into.
Yes,
And certainly
yes.
one is being savvy with technological.
Absolutely.
My goodness. I'm sitting there going, what's happened? But, it's all about being nimble and strategic, right? And, we are right now facing a climate emergency and a sustainability crisis. And the thing is that with what we're facing now, climate change is really forcing fundamental and persistent shifts in how companies do business and compete on the marketplace. And it differs from anything else because of the systemic and interconnected risks that can act as a risk multiplier. So it's urgent for boards to be strategic in their deliberations as to how to enhance climate resilience, okay? And we're facing a climate emergency and a sustainability crisis. We're seeing extreme weather conditions become commonplace, social disparities have become more pronounced, seemingly unaffected parts of the world are rapidly shrinking as corporations face mounting expectations to lessen their negative externalities and prepare for a net zero carbon future. So unprecedented shifts to head off the trajectory of global warming and other environmental and social crises are needed. So businesses have had to adapt to a new normal as corporate sustainability practices, regulatory approaches continue to evolve, and some industries are going to have to drastically change the way they operate and function if they haven't already, right? And what may have been effective pre-pandemic may no longer be suitable in this COVID world, and eventually, with hope, our post-pandemic world. Businesses that were unlikely to prepare for major adverse events are now being forced to look towards that long-term outlook and incorporate environmental and social crises into their risk management. Okay, legal and regulatory frameworks are responding to evolving public expectations, increased litigation, sustainability advocacy, and directors have to be climate and sustainability competent as we face these new challenges. Okay, so in acting in the best interest of the corporation, directors and officers have a duty to be proactive and critically evaluate and address the material risks and opportunities associated with these challenges, right? So we're really entering a new era in the development of legal and governance standards. Companies need to be strategic in creating value over short, medium, and long term. And as they transition, they need to engage in a thorough discussion about the risks, disruptors, and upside opportunities for the company. And we're at a critical juncture in corporate history. Okay, so it's just becoming more and more apparent each day, this intersection between law, ethical business, and sustainability.
So we have this enormous challenge, and the question is, how does this course fit into the picture?
Yeah, so I couldn't be more prouder and more excited about this course as someone who also has no vested interest in any success or anything. It's just genuinely like an excitement over the filling of this knowledge gap that I see in industry, right? This course is designed to help executives and professionals gain context and education on the legal and regulatory frameworks surrounding the life cycle of the mine. And, you've done just such a great job in terms of weaving the importance of the relevant voices in understanding sustainability, including in particular Indigenous perspectives on sustainability and mining. 18 experts is not a small number. And these experts providing their say on some of the most important issues facing mining today. I think it's just so wonderful here that we have this extensive bench of expertise that we've capitalized on, researchers, practitioners, scholars, and including in particular, of course, you, Daniela. I know you didn't know what I was going to say, but you're a real unicorn in this area, having practiced extensively in the mining industry at Valley, at Shell, while also obtaining your doctorate in this field, and, with the invitations that you get to participate in almost every advisory board and regulatory agency in the field. It does not get much better than this. And, watching this program develop with your expertise in professional programs and delivery and the range of experts interviewed for this program, I hope I can really adequately convey how excited I am about this. Frankly, it's overdue and a long time coming in my mind. So it's very nice to get to this point where we are able to provide this education at a low cost to mining professionals, lawyers, regulators, and others in the industry looking to gain information and important cutting edge education in this sector.
Carol, thank you so much. First of all, for your very, very kind words. Thank you very much.
No.
And I agree with you 100% that it is a really exciting course. And I do think, and I agree with you that I think it fills a knowledge gap in this area. So thank you so very, very much.
Can I add something? Just because I think the challenge that we have in the mining sector is that often information remains largely siloed, right? We have scientists, geologists, engineers, they gain little exposure to the relevant policy, legal, and social frameworks of mining, while lawyers, management, investors, they working on the legal, social, political dimensions are often lack the relevant technical knowledge. And this program is aiming to bridge this fundamental gap, right? It offers professionals with this opportunity to engage in integrated knowledge from often disparate fields to promote innovation, societal change, and sustainable practices. So it's a high impact interdisciplinary program. I'm so proud of what you've built here, on the future of mineral exploration and mining with world-class expertise in these areas, sustainability research, and these legal, regulatory, and policy frameworks. We live in the mining capital of the world. And, we have a lot of expertise applicable to international jurisdictions. So this program is really an opportunity to engage with those leading scholars and thinkers across these disciplines. And, I highly encourage people to take it and learn about this very relevant, burgeoning, dynamic field in mining law and sustainability. So congratulations, Daniela. And, I am very proud of this program, and I look forward to also learning more too as time goes on, because just things are changing rapidly. So it's great to be able to have that built and harnessed into this, very elite program. Congrats.
Thank you so much, and thanks to UBC and to everyone involved. No, it's been a really great journey, and I think that one thing that you mentioned, well, everything you mentioned is super important, but I think that one really important aspect is also change is happening so fast that if we don't get the foundations right, if we don't understand where they're coming from, we're going to miss the boat. And I think that's and it's really hard to keep on track. I work in this area, and I sometimes have a hard time keeping on track.
There's a lot.
And you're right, the movement away from silos, it's the future. It's absolutely the future. Everybody needs to be conversant on these issues as soon as possible. I'm wondering whether we should now turn to Q&As, to any questions that you may have, anything that we may clarify.
Yes, thank you to both of you, Daniela and Carol. Really appreciate it, and we're so lucky to have such great discussion. We have one last poll before we head over to questions, but again, please join us on slido.com and submit your questions. Our event code is MLS02, and we can get to those. Our last poll that we wanted to float out here for you is if you're planning on taking the course, which starts September 22nd, or if you needed more information, and again, you can contact us. The email address will be available at the end of the slides, and also on executive learning at allard.ubc.ca for any, if you require more information, we're happy to provide that for you. Great. We're looking forward to having everyone register. Registration's open, of course, for the course. And you'll get some additional details tomorrow when the email goes out, just with the specific links on where you can navigate to get the registration link. Okay, that's great. I think we'll close that for now. And head over to Q&A. I don't have any questions sitting here for review yet. Actually, we do have one. Here we go.
That's great, because those people saying they require more information, now's the time for sure to ask too.
Absolutely. So here's our first question. Do you anticipate offering this again in the future? So we're definitely going, obviously, with our September 27th inaugural run, and we hope to. It really will depend on you, whether you enjoy the course, and we're very proud of it already, and looking forward to making it available to suit different schedules at different times of the year.
One thing too that I thought we can add is it's right now set up for 30 hours, right? But you then also have access to materials where you could fill your time, fill your boots. Maybe I'll let Daniela elaborate more on that, but certainly it's more about the access to information as well. That is just a real gold mine, I think. Pun intended.
Yeah. So just on that point, no, absolutely. The actual course requirements is 30 hours, but we have so much information in there and so many more leads that, and we provide a lot of resources so that you can really fill up a lot of your time, maybe up the entire year of
If
your
you want
work,
it. Yeah.
if you really wanted to. But of course, what the actual expectation of the course is only 30 hours.
So that ties into our, the second question here is what will be the schedule of classes? It's very flexible. There are no synchronous lectures. All of the content will be contained within the modules. There'll be recorded videos, other content that you can access directly in there to suit your schedule.
Yeah, so to clarify, there are no live classes. Everything is online. So you can do it if you're in the field, if you're at night while you're putting a baby to sleep, or whatever you're doing, it is completely online.
As for this question, possibility of the program crediting to the graduate studies, I think that would be a conversation you'd have with your graduate studies program. But certainly I know quite a few people in the Keevil Mining Institute, if that's what you're referring to, and could speak also to, Scott Dunbar and the folks there too, to discuss that. But, so feel free to reach out and we can have that conversation.
And on conclusion of the program, you will receive a completion letter signed by Extended Learning and the Peter Allard School of Law. So that will be part of your portfolio as well. Does anyone have any other questions? You can feel free to scan the QR code. That's a quick way to get in to the Q&A. And we do want to keep to our 1 hour. I know everyone's very busy, so we do have about 10 more minutes. We can wait another 30 seconds or so if any other questions come in. Is there anything else you wanted to add, either Daniela or Carol?
No, all I can say is thank you so much for being with us. As I think we've all mentioned, we're very excited about this course, and we look forward to sharing everything that we've prepared with you.
Great. And just a slide here with a few final remarks from us. A special thank you again to Daniela and to Carol for basically providing us with such great discussion for today's information session. The program fee is listed here. It's a one-time introductory fee. So the September course will be this special reduced fee, and that will be automatically calculated when you register online. The start date again, September 27th to October 29th, it's 5 weeks. And registration's open. Thank you also to the entire team at Extended Learning, really great partners with us on this program. And thank you to each and every one of you for taking time out of your day to join us for today's information session. Please, if you have any questions, again, don't hesitate to contact us. info.excel@ubc.ca is one of the ways to contact us, and the slide at the beginning, it's executivelearning@allard.ubc.ca, but either one of those emails will be able to get the information and the question to the correct person. Thanks very much, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.